incident that I can classify as discrimination is one time I was taking a course that was not the easiest course I've ever taken. I was struggling in the class slightly. I wrote my first paper, and I honestly thought I failed it. I thought I did terrible, but I had a meeting with the professor, and she accused me of having someone else to write the paper because it was too philosophically correct to be written by me. I was going to receive an F instead of an A. I spoke to the head of that department, and he was able to have my paper graded as a 50 instead of a 0. It's still a huge difference from an A, but since I was unable to prove that I wrote the paper myself, I had to settle for a 50 as a final grade.
And how'd that make you feel with the professor claiming that it was too perfect for you to have written?
I was insulted. I was really embarrassed. It was like a mix of emotions. I was angry, I was sad, I was really frustrated because I honestly thought I did terrible, but come to realize I did great, too great. And then when I received such a low grade, I was just upset.
So do you feel like in that instance you were underestimated in school?
Yes. I do admit I was struggling in the course, and I told her that. And I understand her confusion when I turned in a great paper, and I admitted to struggling in the course, but I stayed up all night writing that paper, and I tried my very best on it. And although I didn't expect to make an A, I also didn't expect to receive a 0 because the paper was in fact an A paper, but she did not believe it was written by me. Yes, I will say I have worried, but it's not a constant worry. Like, I try not to let that get to me every day. Whenever it crosses my mind, I try to push it off because feeling like I'm falling into a stereotype, it prevents me from expressing myself the way I want to in public. I don't want to be perceived as an angry black woman, so I just prefer to remain quiet. And I try not to speak my opinion unless it's in defense of myself or any member of my community, or even as a woman. I try to keep my responses short, and I try to keep my emotions level at all times.
You talked about keeping your emotions leveled, and do you just feel like kind of like held back in any way or repressed in that sense?
Yes, I feel held back all the time. Sometimes I feel like whenever I'm in public, I'm so used to remaining calm, I feel kind of out of body in a way. Like, I feel like I'm not actually there. Like, I'm watching it happen, but from a distance, because I'm so used to being unattached from my emotions to maintain a calm persona, because I don't want to fall into the stereotype of being an angry black woman. So it's a habit now that I'm trying to break, because I shouldn't have to suppress my emotions to satisfy someone else.
Right.
School-wise, the pandemic kind of made my motivation and drive and really excitement when it comes to school kind of be pushed away. Like, I feel like I'm just attending school. I don't feel excited about it. I feel as if I'm doing busy work instead of actually learning. As for work, the pandemic caused me to have a great opportunity to work in the legal field for the first time. I would still be working there now, but my boss passed from the virus. So right now I'm unemployed. Personally, I haven't been able to see my friends since March of last year. So that's kind of tough on me. I don't know, I just feel disconnected. Yes, I felt that way growing up in a sense. I felt as if I had to push myself a little bit harder to show that I didn't fall into the stereotype they had for black people or even minorities. But now that pressure seems to have leveled, it lessened in a way. Like, I don't feel the constant pressure to go above and beyond and to always do my best. I just try as hard as I can, but I don't stress myself to the point where I have anxiety about it, or I'm always worrying. So the pressure is there, but I try to control it for my own sake. Yes, I do feel as if people underestimate me because I'm Black. We all know the negative stereotypes out there for Blacks, and I feel like we're underestimated, and that just pushes us to always go above and beyond. We can't be good at something. We have to be the best at that in order to receive half the recognition that our white counterparts would have if they were okay at it or even good at it. We always have to be the best in everything, or we won't be recognized or acknowledged at all. Oh yes, I'm sure will always be a chance that will happen. Although it hasn't happened to me yet, won't be surprised if it does. I just hope that I have the courage to speak up in defense of myself and my pay and what I deserve as a worker and as a person. And I also hope I have the courage to also leave that environment if I can, to find work elsewhere where I'm appreciated, I'm acknowledged, and I'm rewarded with a deserving pay for that.
And do you believe that you would also also a chance of you being underemployed? So in the sense that, say that you get a job in the field you're going for, but the skill level doesn't match up to the position that you were hired for.
Yeah, I can see that happening as well. But again, I just hope that not only do I hope I have the courage, but I also hope I have the sense enough to leave. And I don't feel compelled to work there and to prove my worth. I will try in the first few months or maybe weeks to make them notice that I am deserving. I deserve a promotion, or I deserve an increase in pay. But I'm also hoping another work environment recognizes that, and I'm able to apply and get the job that I deserve. Oh yes, like let's say if I ever wore a crop top to class, I would be stereotyped as that Black girl. Like, to me, we're kind of sexualized as women a little bit more than our white counterparts. And if I were to wear a revealing top or bottom, I would fit into that category of promiscuous women. But if a white woman were to do the same thing, it would just be a kid, a college student just living her life. She's young, that's expected. So I feel like we are stereotyped in a sense of appearance as well as behavior. Now when it comes to our interests, I have experienced that a lot of my white counterparts expected me to be a rap fan or a hip hop fan or whatnot. And although I didn't fit into that category, I was a little offended that they just assumed I would be because of my race. It's like we're stuck in a box and we're expected to always be in that box, but when we're not in that box, it seems so odd and out of the ordinary, like we're different, like we're a different kind of Black.
It's almost, I guess you could say that they expect that's what Black culture is about.
Yes, they have an idea of what our culture is, but they fail to realize that it's vast. Like, it's so many things within one culture and one group of people that we can do and what we like and how we behave. And I think people have a hard time wrapping their head around that and accepting that. Oh yes, I definitely fit into that percentage. I have no motivation to do schoolwork. I have no motivation to do anything but lounge around. It's not that I'm being lazy, it's just I feel pretty depressed and I don't feel as alive when I'm stuck in my house all the time. I feel better when I'm outside, and when I am outside, it's like a relief from schoolwork. It's a relief from school and work and everything, and I don't know, it's just a weird thing. Like, I've never been put in like a mental situation like this before. I've always been able to balance my emotions mentally. And right now it's like a new area of life that I'm going through. Yes, I feel as if my family is pretty accepting about that, because we also have other family members who have dealt with that. They don't ignore what we have to say about it. They don't say, all you need to do is pray, or you're just going through something, you'll get over it. They actually listen, and they understand that although religion can play a huge role in bettering your mental state, they also realize that it's not the only way to improve it. So they're really encouraging in that sense. They don't make me feel like I'm different or I'm weird or anything like that. They just listen. They let me talk and let me figure things out on my own, but they also offer that door of support. If I need to seek help, they will support me with that.
And do you feel like, in general, in the Black community, as far as our culture and whatnot goes, do you feel that's like that there's a common understanding as to what you're describing, or is there something different?
It all depends on the community in that area itself. Like, from the people I've encountered and everything, they seem to have a good understanding of mental health. I feel as if the newer generations, the younger generations, they seem to be more accepting and understanding of mental health. They understand that we do need to seek help if we need it. There's no reason to push it underneath the rug or hide from it and everything. And they don't use God as the only outlet of help. The older generation, now that's a whole different topic. They're not as easy to convince that it's okay to have mental issues. It's not something to be ashamed of. But I feel as if as time goes on, the community as a whole will improve on mental health. And I'm hoping the members are able to seek help when necessary, and they don't feel pressured to only seek help through God and religion, but also through professionals and even friends and family as well. I can say somewhat I have. I say somewhat because it's not a constant thing. It's not a constant stress that I go through, but it's all about who I surround myself with. If I'm constantly surrounded by people outside of my community, I will feel that stress more. It's like a pressure to remain in that box of good stereotypes and nothing negative. But once I'm outside of that group, I feel as if that stress no longer exists. I'm able to behave the way I want to behave. I'm able to express myself the way I want to express myself. It's just like a blanket of relief. My younger sister lost her job at Vanity Fair as a cashier in the store. That was in December. She was fortunate enough to be attending school in our small town. So my parents are still supporting her like they've always done. Oh yes, all the time. More so at school than work, because my first job, most of the employees were Black. My second job, I was the only Black there, but it was only 2 of us. And I say mainly school because I attend a predominantly white institute, so I've always feel that pressure. Hey, I feel this way mostly at school because I attend a PWI. I feel as if any emotion besides being calm or happy is perceived as angry. And I try to avoid that. So I try to keep my emotions to myself. I try to maintain a blank facial expression. My demeanor is really calm. I try not to interact with other people to keep myself from falling into that stereotype and pressure of being an angry black woman. No, I don't think they will ignore it entirely, maybe in the beginning, but I think they will feel pressured to speak up and do something to avoid a lawsuit. It may not be out of the kindness of their hearts to handle the situation, but I do feel the pressure of a lawsuit would push them to do the right thing.
And does that surprise you that I'm sorry. And does that just surprise you that that school did ignore that issue?
Hold on. Hey. So you don't hear the footsteps. Hold on. No, I'm not surprised at all, because at this point in society, you have two options: either handle it immediately and avoid a lawsuit and your reputation, or ignore it completely and act naive until it becomes national news. I'm not surprised that her school ignored it entirely, because some people may make the dumb decision of feeling as if the situation itself is not a bad situation, since violence did not occur. It was just a simple slur or a simple noose. It's not that big of a deal. I feel that people have a bad habit of downplaying racial issues until it directly affects them.
Why does it not surprise you that that issues like this go unignored when it comes to racial slurs?
Because the value of black lives have never mattered in history. If you go to any period from now until the first day of life, it's as if we were always perceived as nothing or anything less than human. I mean, if you cut on the TV now, you have dozens of examples where our lives do not matter. Like, they don't care about us when we're being killed, so why would they care about us when we're being insulted? It's like we're beneath them. So it's no point to even consider how we feel, what we go through, and consider how to improve our situation.
And how does that make you feel personally?
Oh, personally, I'm very, very upset. I have a hard time completing my goal of becoming a lawyer, because how can I study a law that does not apply to me to save my life or to speak up for my rights? So why would I take 3 years to study and learn that law when it's going to do nothing? No, it doesn't come as a surprise at all, because they let our mistakes define us for life. We could make one simple mistake and we will always be perceived as a bad person, a violent person, an angry person. But they can make dozens of mistakes and the first thing they say is, this doesn't define his character. This doesn't define her character. She comes from a good family, or he comes from a good family. They always go back to your background to justify that you are in fact a good person. And so we're unable to make a single mistake without our whole life being defined by that one day, by that one mistake. So it's either you're perfect or you're nothing.
And just this is going to go to the next question. So with what you're saying, based on, if you make that one mistake, you're perfect or you're not perfect in a sense, do you feel like that just applies to black youth or black people, or does that apply to any other minority?
That applies to all minorities, but I can only speak for my community and what we endure. But I will say it's as if people think we're more prone to be violent, bad people than good people. We can't just be good people. We have to be great people. They expect us to always turn the other cheek. They want us to be peaceful while they're violent. We're always expected to be the bigger person. We're never able to retaliate or anything like that. And anything that we do that they consider violent, it's like we're terrorists, like we're a mob. But anything they do that's violent in defense of their rights is like a historical moment. It's like a moment of courage and bravery. So it's a completely different playing field between us and them.
And by them, you mean white people?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think there's a huge divide. I can't speak for each community entirely, but I will say that I have heard a few times, a few minorities in other communities have said as if blacks are always complaining, we need to get over slavery and everything of that nature. I think there's a divide that was created by the white community to keep the minorities divided, because once you divide us, then the chance of change is not going to happen. Change will not happen until we actually unite as one minority community instead of dozens. And I feel as if that divide has caused a lot more issues to continue. I feel once we acknowledge that we endure the same struggles, maybe not to the same extent, but the struggle itself is shared.